Hello, my love, and welcome back to another episode of the Queen of Pep Talks podcast. This is the final episode of 2022. I feel like so emotional recording this episode, and I don't even know exactly what I'm going to talk about. It's going to be just a low-key episode. I want to talk about my goals for the new year, what I'm going to really be focused on. I want to talk about the pressure that can come with the new year, and I have a couple of pieces of advice and, of course, a pep talk as always. I'm feeling so many emotions around doing a final episode. I don't normally plan out and know this is going to be the final episode of the year, but knowing that I'm taking off next week from the podcast, I know that this is going to be a goodbye, a deuces to 2022 episode. We have done, I think, 131 or 132 podcast episodes this year on the Queen of Pep Talks podcast. We are celebrating tomorrow the $300,000 downloads, which is so amazing. I just ordered some balloons and my husband is going to pick them up for me, and I cannot wait to have a celebration over the weekend. And then it's Christmas, and then some time unplugged, hopefully a bit from work, maybe trying to get ahead in 2023. I'm doing and holding a lot right now, and I apologize if I'm repeating this here. I've been having so many different conversations all over the place that I can't remember how much of this I have shared here, but I do want to talk about the goals that I have for the new year and how I'm really feeling around them. I've had a lot of conversations recently about goals, and I apologize if you've heard any of this already, but I want to make sure that I'm really reiterating this for you when it comes to the goals that you're working on achieving in 2023 for yourself. So I have two really big goals that I'm going to be working on in 2023. Number one is the Heroic Public Speaking course that I'm starting on January 5th. This is an 8-month course that's going to help me craft a keynote speech so that I can be speaking on stages to women about self-sabotage and moving out of their own way and really becoming the leaders of their lives so they can achieve everything that they want for themselves. That course it feels for me a lot like going back to college. And if you don't know my track record, I've dropped out of college 7 times. So there's a lot of emotion coming up for me around this goal. There's also a lot of fear around, am I capable of this? I'm worried about the time commitment that comes with it and all that I'm already holding in my business with the podcast and my coaching business. I have private clients, masterminds, group coaching programs, a masterclass every month. I have so many things that are so important to me already. We're going to be doing a retreat in 2023. And I'm just wondering, I'm curious and a little bit maybe intimidated of will I be able to hold all of this? Will I be capable of doing all of this? Because it's a big time commitment what I'm doing, not just virtually, but there are also in-person days that I have to go there. There are a number of them over the course of my time inside of this course where I'm going to have to travel and go to workshops in person, and I'm going to have to speak on stage in front of a group of my peers, and I'm going to have to get constructive criticism. Oh my gosh, there are just so many feelings that are coming up for me around this. But one of my big goals is to graduate from this HPS course, and I want to have a really big graduation party, which I'm really excited about, hoping to do that sometime in September, have a really big graduation party. My family, my husband's family, I'm going to make it a big deal because I know I'm going to graduate from the course, and I know that I'm going to do incredible because that's the standard that I'm going to hold myself to. And I want to celebrate that on the other side when I'm done. But also there is a level of fear and a level of intimidation and a little bit of limiting beliefs. And I really just want to remind you that no matter how successful you become in your life, and even when you have built a track record of trusting yourself and staying committed and following through and doing the work, it's still easy to doubt yourself sometimes, because even though I have a 6-year track record of showing up for myself, prior to that, I have a 16-year plus track record of not showing up for myself and not following through on my commitments. And I have evidence, right, that college was hard for me, that being in school was hard for me. So it's normal to want to look back on that evidence and think that this time around, it will be the same. And I share this with you because I know this time of year, a lot of you may be setting goals for yourself that you have once tried to work towards before. And it's really easy for the feelings of defeat from previous ventures and previous attempts in trying to achieve what you wanted to achieve in previous years, maybe even previous New Year's resolutions that you've had for yourself. It's easy to get in your head and think, oh, well, I failed at this before, so I'm going to fail at it again. And what can happen is when we're looking back at that evidence, we can convince ourselves that it's not even really worth trying. And then we give up again before we even really give ourselves an opportunity to be successful. So that's the first piece of what I want to share with you around my personal goals and the things that I want you to keep in mind as you're moving into 2023 and maybe trying to achieve goals that you once tried to work towards before and it didn't work out the way that you wanted. Keep top of mind that just because it went that way in the past, it doesn't mean that it has to go the same way this time. It can go a very different way. And also, don't talk yourself out of being fully committed to it because of the evidence that you have that maybe you weren't so committed to it in the past. Okay. The second big goal that I have for myself in 2023, it involves the podcast. I want the podcast to get to 1 million downloads, which is going to be just under 700,000 downloads in the year, which is like more than triple what it did this year. And that is a massive, massive goal. And with that goal, there's going to be a massive time commitment. Recording episodes by myself is very different than recording episodes with guests, whether it's clients or other experts in the online space, because it requires a level of scheduling, right? Time commitment that takes place. Those episodes are much longer than my episodes by myself. It also requires a level of time commitment to do the research to make sure that I understand who my guest is and I can ask really good questions, because that's very important to me. And it's been one of the fears that has held me back from starting to bring guests on is, am I qualified to be someone who asks good questions on the podcast? And will I be a good interviewer, or will I just like ask questions and not engage in the conversation? Although I know I will always do my best, I know that it's a new skill that I'm going to have to continue to master. And there have been conversations that I've had, even in episodes that I've shared with you, where I'm like, ooh, I don't really love how I did, right? So I'm still learning and I'm still growing. So there's the fear that comes with that and the ego that wants to pop in and say like, you're not good enough now. So many things that we want to do in life, we want to skip being a beginner. How many things have you wanted for yourself in your life, in your business, where you're just like, I don't want to go through the beginner stage. I don't want to suck at this. I don't want to have no one paying attention. I don't want to potentially look like an idiot because I don't necessarily know what I'm doing. And we again want to talk ourselves out of the opportunity of really even fully committing and trying because of the fear around that, or not wanting to be a beginner, or not wanting to start at zero. There have been many times where I have felt that even now in my business and interviewing people, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm starting at the beginning and I'm reaching out and asking for interviews and I'm getting ignored from people who I would love to have on the podcast, but maybe I'm not yet qualified enough to have them on the podcast as a guest because I haven't done enough interviews, or my podcast doesn't have the number of reviews that it should have or the number of downloads that it should have in order to get these people that I would love to have conversations with onto the podcast. It's a shitty feeling. And it's something that I think not enough people talk about when they are sharing in the fact that they have massive successes. Like, we all go through these things. Like, I've been left on red by many people on Instagram. I'm like, I would love for you to be a guest on my podcast. They're not interested. And that's okay. Am I going to allow that to make me quit? No. I'm going to allow that to make me realize, okay, just because they said no, or they ignored you, or they don't want to, it doesn't mean that no one wants to come on. Start speaking to people that maybe aren't quite at that level yet and have them come on and build yourself to that place. So that's another piece that I wanted to share with you around goals is like, don't allow things not necessarily going as easily as you would hope, or as simple as you would hope, or exactly as you had hoped they would, to be something that holds you back or discourages you. That's the word I was looking for. Don't allow it to discourage you from continuing to show up. You have to want this, much like I was talking about on Wednesday's episode. You have to want this so bad that it doesn't matter how difficult it feels sometimes, or what the roadblocks are, or how many times you get turned down or told no. You're going to keep showing up and doing it because you're so committed to what it is that you want. The second thing that I want to share in this goal that I have that I think will be really relevant for you is my goal is to have 1 million downloads by the end of 2023. Can I guarantee that that will happen? Absolutely not. So what I want to talk about with you is number goals, and when you're setting number goals, and how important it is to have awareness of what it is you're working towards. And if you're setting a number goal, whether it's a financial goal in your business, a weight loss goal that you might have, a podcast download goal, any number goal that you have, I want you to remind yourself that it's okay to have that number goal, but also you need to detach from the outcome, because we have to take the time to acknowledge that ultimately is out of your control, right? And sometimes what can happen when we set number goals is we're trying to break them down and track them in a way that makes logical sense. So let's just say like your goal was to lose 100 pounds in 2023. and you're thinking like, oh my gosh, if I'm going to lose 100 pounds in 2023, that means that every quarter I have to lose 25 pounds, which means that every month I have to lose, I don't know what that would be, 5-ish pounds. 6 pounds. I don't know. I'm not great at mental math, but you have like this idea of how many pounds you need to lose per month in order to get to this final weight loss goal. And I could do the same thing. If I want to have 1 million podcast downloads by the end of 2023, then I need to have like 70 some thousand downloads per month. The podcast is not close to that right now. The podcast is at like 25,000 downloads per month, which is absolutely amazing, but that's a big jump. Do I believe that I'm going to get to a point in January where I'm quote unquote on track to hit that goal? No, but what I could do is allow that to discourage me. And I don't want you to allow the fact that you might not be on track, quote unquote, to hit your number goal by the end of the year, but that can't be something that discourages you, because what you're doing is you're giving your power away to things that are out of your control. You can't control how quickly things are going to happen or when those number increments that you're looking for are actually going to be met. Make sure that if you have number goals, you're bringing your focus and your intention back to what is actually within your control. So in terms of like my podcast download goal, I can't control how many listens and downloads I actually get, but I can control how many episodes I'm putting out. I can control the quality of the experience here for my listener. I can control who I choose to reach out to, how many people I choose to reach out to, how well I do interviewing them, how many times I ask you guys for ratings and reviews, like continuing to put the focus on what is within my control instead of living in just being attached to the result and feeling frustrated when it's not happening in a quote unquote timely fashion. So if you have number goals, that's fine and amazing, but just make sure you're continuing to bring the attention back to what can I control on a day-to-day basis, because you won't necessarily be able to control the number goal and whether or not you actually reach it by the time that you desire to actually reach it. Okay. The other thing that I want to share is the pressure that can come with this time of year. It's really easy to fall into this trap of like, I want more and better for myself in the new year, but then we can start to minimize or downplay or even feel bad about where we are in our lives right now. You might be looking back on your 2022 and feeling really disappointed in how you showed up for yourself or what you did achieve or what you didn't achieve, or maybe you're proud in some areas of your life, but in other areas of your life, man, I really wish I would have worked harder on this. I'm definitely feeling the same. I'm proud of how I showed up this year. I know that I did with certainty the best that I could this year, but there are still areas of my life, and these are things that I'll be talking about in the secret birthday offer that's happening in January. I definitely feel like there could have been areas where I tried a little bit harder, or I did a little bit better, or I didn't maybe sabotage, or I put in effort differently, or I tried something different. It's normal to have all of those thoughts. And sometimes what can happen is when you haven't really worked on your mindset, it's easy to allow those thoughts to kind of take over, where it's like they're the only thoughts that you're paying attention to and they're the only thoughts that you're hearing. And that can put a lot of pressure on us moving into a new year where we feel like, this is the year that I have to do things differently, or this is the year that my life has to change the way that I said it was going to change, or this is the year that I must fill in the blank. And we can just start to put pressure on ourselves. And I just want to remind you that yes, you're allowed to set goals, and yes, you're allowed to want so much more for your life and for your business and for your family and for your finances and for your body, whatever it is you're working towards. You're allowed to want more, but don't let the pressure of that want for more feel like it's consuming your life and it makes you feel like what's here right now isn't good enough. That's a really toxic trap to get stuck in, where it feels like what we have here and now isn't enough, or even worse, we're beating up on ourselves where we are right here and now and believing that we can hate ourselves to this point where we'll be happy and we'll work hard for what we want. I want you to go after every goal that you have for yourself in 2023, but I don't want you to pressure yourself to the point that you feel like where you are right now in your life isn't good enough, because if you get used to telling yourself that where you are in life right now isn't good enough, that's a habit that you're going to stay in. I want you to really work on the mindset around appreciating your life and feeling grateful for everything that you have in your life while choosing to work towards what it is that you want in 2023. Because what will happen is when you feel miserable and you're approaching change from that place, you're going to feel like you're in a rush to hurry up and get there, right? This is something you hear me talk about a lot, is feeling like I need to hurry up and get somewhere in order to be happy. Number one, happiness isn't waiting for you there, but also number two, this creates a lot of all or nothing thinking where you're doing extreme things to try and achieve what it is that you want. And you don't want to fall into that trap, because what happens is you end up in this cycle of starting and stopping and starting and stopping and working hard for a little bit, but then quitting on yourself because the approach that you're taking is not sustainable. So just make sure you take a breath, do it right now. Take a breath and tell yourself, when I step into 2023 and I'm approaching creating the change that I want and I'm working hard towards my goals, I'm always going to meet myself with love and compassion, and I'm going to remove the pressure, because nobody wants this for you except for you. You're the one putting pressure on yourself. And I know this because I'm the one putting pressure on myself. No one in my life is telling me that I'm not doing good enough, or I'm not being good enough, or I'm not trying hard enough. The only person that ever tells me that, sadly, is myself, right? So let go of the pressure that you're putting on yourself. Remind yourself that you are good enough and you're doing good enough and you're trying hard enough. And when you can learn to love yourself that way, you can let go of the pressure that comes with achieving your goals in the new year. You'll learn to appreciate the journey to getting there, which means you'll be more consistent and you'll take an approach that you'll actually enjoy, and you'll end up achieving what you want instead of quitting on yourself a couple of months in because you're just literally exhausted. Okay. So that's all I feel like I really have to say for this kind of goodbye to 2022 episode. There's so much that I want to say, so much that I have said in the last couple of weeks. If you were a part of Committed AF or you were a part of the resolution, they were both masterclasses where I talked a lot about the way that I feel about commitment and discipline stepping into the new year. If you haven't purchased the 2022 masterclass bundle, $99 to get every masterclass I did this year, I'm going to definitely recommend that to you. But there are 3 pieces of advice that I'll leave you with beyond what I've already shared as you step into 2023. Number 1 is, you're allowed to want to work hard for what it is that you want. And I hope that when you step into the new year, whenever it is that you decide that you're ready to work towards achieving something in your life, I hope that you will meet yourself, like I was talking about, with love and grace and compassion, but also a willingness to work hard, because achieving what you want will require some hard work from you, but also do the best that you can to enjoy your life and be happy now, because life is so short, and whether or not you achieve your goals, it's ultimately out of your control. And I say it a million times, and I'll continue to say it. You don't deserve to be miserable in the pursuit of achieving a goal. So make sure that no matter what you're working towards, you learn to find and create the happiness that you want to feel. That's why we're chasing what we want, because we think it'll make us happier. We think it'll make us feel better about ourselves. We think it'll make us feel more successful or more validated or more important. I get it, guys. I totally get it. But at the same time, having achieved so much, I know that the things outside of me don't actually make me feel that way. I have to be the one that creates those feelings within me, because if what's here now isn't enough, nothing is ever going to be enough. You have everything that you need. You have, I hope, love in your life and food on your table and a roof over your head. And by the way, just so many thoughts and prayers to homeless people right now. This time of year, people living without heat. Where we are right now, it is so freezing cold. And I've seen across the entire country, people being hit with insanely cold weather. Just my thoughts and prayers go out to the people who don't have everything that we have. Don't take what you have now for granted, okay? Learn to be happy with where you are in your life and enjoy the moments. Please don't spend your life wishing away the moments of like, oh, I just want to hurry up and get where I think I want to be. This is your life. And these are the days and the moments and the memories that you're going to cherish one day. So make sure you're really taking the time to be here and be present and enjoy them, especially over the holiday season. Okay. And the last thing I want to say to you is, good and bad things are going to continue to happen to every single one of us in 2023 and for the rest of our lives. That's just a part of life. I know that sometimes it can be difficult in the moment, but I want to encourage you throughout 2023, as things are happening and you're learning lessons and maybe you're having successes and failures, learn to try really hard to look for the gratitude in all of it. Even the things sometimes that don't really make sense in our lives, the biggest lessons come from those. And those lessons are things that we needed to learn. And even when it doesn't make sense in the moment, I hope that you can try and find gratitude for everything that you experience in your life, because it's all happening for you. And when you can fall into deep trust and belief in that, your life will be a lot happier. I want to thank you so much for sharing 2022 with me here on the podcast. I can't even put into words how much your love and support here has meant to me over the last year, 2 years, 3 years, however long you've been here listening to the Queen of Pep Talks podcast. I am overwhelmed with just so much happiness and so much joy and so much gratitude for what I've worked so hard to create. I've been having a lot of conversations with my clients lately, and they've been sharing with me just how much they admire me, because they know that the way that they're struggling, some of them right now, especially when they're just coming to me and we're beginning to work towards cleaning up their mindsets and improving their consistency and really deepening the love and relationship that they have with themselves, they see me in them and they see them in me, because they know they've been here for so long that they know I haven't always been a person who has achieved everything that I've wanted. And to watch how hard I have worked this year to achieve the things that I want. And even when it felt so hard, I kept going. And even when I felt defeated and like things weren't working, I continued to show up. And I never used to be this kind of person. And I'm just so proud of myself. And I'm so proud of the level of effort and energy that I put into this work. I'm so proud of the heart that I have and my willingness to let people so close to me and love them so deeply while I work with them and beyond. I'm so proud of the women who have trusted themselves and trusted me and said yes to our work together. I just can't even put into words how I feel, how grateful I feel to be able to do this work that means so much to me every day of my life. And I know that what's coming in the next chapter 2023, I know that it is bigger than I can even imagine right now. I know that it is better than I can even envision. And I know that the impact that it is going to leave on this world, the ripple is going to be so big. And I am just so grateful for you for being a part of it. I'm proud of myself. I'm grateful for myself. I'm grateful for my family and the support that I receive. I'm grateful for every person who has supported me. I'm grateful for all of the struggles that have built me into a woman who can handle this. And I just want you to know how much I love you. I hope that you have the most beautiful holiday season. And I hope that 2023 is everything that you want it to be. Because no matter how much you've struggled in your life up until now, your success may not come easy, but your success is still possible. And I am evidence of that. I have quit on myself so many times in my life. I have given up on so many goals. I have been so angry at myself so many times, and I felt like a failure so many times in my life. And yet here I am, happier, more fulfilled, and more successful than ever, because I kept going. I made a commitment to myself that I will continue working on me and for me, no matter what. And I hope that your dreams and your goals for 2023 mean that much to you, that you'll make the same commitment. Okay. I love you to absolute pieces. Thank you so much for being a part of my world. If you have not already, it would mean the world to me if you left a rating and review on the Queen of Pep Talks podcast. I will miss you guys next week, but we will be back on January 2nd with the first episode of 2023. I love you. Happy holidays. Happy New Year. I wish I could give you the biggest hug. I will talk to you on the next episode of the Queen of Pep Talks podcast. See you guys.